Nerdrotic.com.
I don't think I'm going out on a limb here by saying things haven't been great for Hollywood. Hell, they haven't even been good. Coming off the year of the flopbuster and multiple strikes, which are leading to what is looking like a bleak 2024, filled with prequels and sequels that no one asked for. But despite all of that, within this sea of creative bankrupt sewage, we find a gem that just so happens to be a sequel. And just in time, because we are 2 months into 2024 and a major Hollywood studio finally decided to release a tentpole film. And that film is Dune Part 2. I was fortunate enough to see it at an early fan screening, and I'm very happy to report it's really good. But how good is it? Is it as great as The Lord of the Rings, as some of the prisoner of the moment shill critics have been saying? Well, we'll get to that. But first, please join me, you over 987,000 Awakening Wonders and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet, and let's talk about what probably could be the best film of the year.
You are not prepared for what is to come.
To be fair, considering what's coming out, that's not very hard to pull off. At minimum, it'll be in the top 3. And not to worry, there will be no spoilers because I want you to see this. Just get this out of the way briefly. I've never read the books and probably never will. I've tried many times and just couldn't do it. I do love the weirdness of the David Lynch film. I did watch the series in 2000, and when Dune Part 1 came out, I was lukewarm to it, but the film grew on me, and since then I've watched it 5 times, and I was excited, yes, excited to see a movie in the theater, and this one did not disappoint. Dune Part 2 picks up right where Dune Part 1 left off, which was my only real criticism of the first film, the ending. Paul Atreides and Lady Jessica barely escape being murdered after supposedly being exiled after House Atreides was decimated by the Harkonnens on the orders of the Emperor, who are all being manipulated by the all-female order of the Bene Gesserits, who planted a false prophecy amongst Dune's natives, the Fremen, that Paul Atreides, the only male trained with Bene Gesserit powers, is some sort of messiah that's going to lead them to paradise. And now it's up to Paul and Lady Jessica to convince them that this prophecy is real, not only just to stay alive, but also to seek vengeance against the Harkonnens, the Emperor, and anyone else involved with the destruction of House Atreides and the murder of their beloved Duke Leto, all while trying to resist what will inevitably be the consequences of a self-fulfilling false prophecy. Dune Part 2 cost about $190 million, and that budget is up there, but it's money well spent because this film is nothing short of a cinematic achievement when it comes to the special effects. And everyone at Disney, rightly so, should feel embarrassed. I particularly like the scenes on Giedi Prime, the Harkonnen homeworld, which look like Planet Geiger. They also, in this film, happen to be a completely hairless society. Again, the effects, along with the production design and the music, are all 10 out of 10. Yes, this needs to be seen in a theater, but not just any theater, a prestige theater like an IMAX or a 4DX. As far as the directing goes, along with Dune Part 1, I believe this is Denis Villeneuve's best job. Now, I know Denis Villeneuve fans can be just like Chris Nolan fans, but for me, he's hit and miss. I hated Blade Runner 2049, and I love Sicario. By the way, I think it's just fine if you root for a good director because we have so few of them these days. As far as the story goes, it's pretty good considering they're adapting what I've heard is an unadaptable book. And to my brothers and sisters out there who are book lore purists, I'm with you in spirit, although I have no idea what they got right or wrong. Apparently, one of the big changes was the book, or at least this part of the book, takes place over 3 years, and they shortened it down to 6 months, which I didn't have a problem with, and I thought it was clever that they used Lady Jessica's pregnancy to show the passage of time. And for the most part, the acting is top-notch. I gotta give it up to Timothée Chalamet. He really did pull off the reluctant Messiah, turning into the vengeful Messiah. Makes you think what they could have done with Anakin Skywalker. Oh man, I just pissed off the prequel fans. And Rebecca Ferguson, who's pretty damn great in everything I've seen her in, is great as Lady Jessica. But the 2 actors who stole the show, well, Javier Bardem as Stilgar, who provided much needed levity in what is a really stark and serious story. And if I gave a shit about the Oscars, which I don't, I hope he would get nominated or maybe win one. And as with most genre, a film or a story is only as good as its villain. Dune Part 1 had Baron Harkonnen, played by Stellan Skarsgård, and in Dune Part 2, the other actor who stole the show was Austin Butler's Feyd-Rautha, previously played by champagne socialist and really damn good musician Sting in the Lynch version, who completely pulls off being far more dangerous than his bigger brother Robin because he's more calculated, cruel, and sadistic. And while Austin Butler's Feyd-Rautha was brutal in this movie, it made me wonder what a rated R version would look like. But when it comes to the corporate shill critics, you know, the kind of people who will call you and I media illiterate, saying that this stands up to things like The Lord of the Rings. No. This is a damn good movie, arguably one of the better science fiction movies released in the last decade. The battles in this film are excellent, but nothing, and I mean nothing in it compares to The Two Towers or Return of the King, and it's not even fair to compare it to them. In Lord of the Rings, the greatest trilogy ever made, there's over a dozen characters you can root for. In Dune, there's interesting characters, but there's only about 2 or 3 you'd root for, and 2 of them are dead. For me, it had some pacing issues in the beginning, and one of the best descriptions I saw of it on Twitter from my friend the Mega Geek is it's clinical. There is a big battle at the end, but I would adjust any expectations based on what you've heard from the corporate critics. Florence Pugh is barely in it, and Anya Taylor-Joy was in the Furiosa trailer that came out before I saw Dune Part 2, more than she was in Dune Part 2. And one of the bigger disappointments in a film that I liked was Christopher Walken's Emperor. Not for Christopher Walken, he's always great, he's just barely in it as well. Then there's Zendaya as Chani, a performance I couldn't differentiate from her performance as fake MJ. Listen, she's probably fine in Euphoria, a show I would never watch, or some sitcom, but as far as being an alien woman on an alien world, she just comes off as Californian. And with those pacing issues in the beginning, they certainly could have used that time in what felt like a slightly rushed ending. And that's why I prefer the first one slightly over the second one, but it's only slightly, and I know I'm gonna get roasted even for that opinion, and that's good. That's normal. I hope you roast the hell out of me for not liking Dune Part 2 enough. Hell, while you're at it, the prequel fans can roast the hell out of me too. I'd much rather have that than to have to report that another movie sucks because of intersectional feminism, although it would have been funny to work in an intersectional feminism joke. But the good far outweighs the slight problems I had. I'm not even going to call them bad, not even Zendaya. The only thing I really disliked was the final scene of the film. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. It's the only decision in this film that I believe was guided by modernity. And judging by the packed theater I was in, where everyone loved it, all of my friends who have seen it, who loved it, the sold out theaters this weekend, and the really healthy and I still believe underestimated box office projection for Dune Part 2's opening weekend, I'm guessing it's going to do pretty good. And that's going to be a long overdue shot in the arm that the theaters need, no thanks to Hollywood. And yes, I highly recommend this film, so grab your inappropriately weird pocket sandworm popcorn bucket and get your ass to the theater and see it. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com